especially for high net worth and ultra high net worth. They don't work as well because of the low interest rate environment we've been in the last 10 years. They don't work as well as they used to, but it's something to consider. So, how do you invest? What's a basic strategy for investing for a long-term retirement? Well, you can create buckets where you have growth investments that you don't touch, earning about 6% a year. Then you have conservative investments that are earning 4% a year. Then you take a portion of this 850 and you put it in a fixed income vehicle, and you withdraw $45,000 for 5 years, and you get 32,042 after taxes. So as you can see, as these other buckets are growing up, it creates money to generate your current income. So the income producing vehicles are bonds, income mutual funds, dividend paying stocks, annuities, and life insurance. So bonds, just a quick review, they're just a long-term IOU where you're loaning someone some money. They're paid regular fixed income, the principal repaid at the end of the contract. And then but you have two risks in here, and most people don't realize that. There's interest rate risk and default risk. Default risk is the easier of the two. It's just if the entity that's you've loaned the money to goes into financial trouble and they can't pay you back and they default on the loan, that's the default risk. Now the interest rate risk is something a little subtler. And interestingly enough, one famous person, I don't know, have any of you heard of Susie Orman? Yeah, she's also on PBS, and as good as Ed Slott is, Susie Orman's advice sometimes is a bit questionable. And here's one of the reasons why. She actually started off as a financial advisor, like me. And she invested her clients in long-term treasury bonds because they were, quote, risk-free. And you're going like, well, what's wrong with that? You're sure to get your money back. But if you do long-term, they can be 30 years. And if interest rates go up, the prices of those things drop as fast as the stock portfolio in a crash. They can go down 20–30% a year, and your principal goes down. That payment is guaranteed, but you can actually lose a lot of the money in, quote, risk-free. Now we can talk about what risk is in our industry. It's not the risk you think is your chances of losing money, but that's something you have to keep in mind when you're investing in munis and treasuries where they're very sensitive to interest rates. That is a discussion we could have at our group meeting when we schedule a one-on-one meeting, and we can discuss that. Mutual funds, there's income mutual funds, and they have a lot of wonderful advantages, and I'm sure most of you are very familiar with them. And they have diversification, flexibility. You can invest sometimes as little as $1,000 to get one. But they are exposed to market risk, and income can fluctuate. Same with dividend-paying stocks. They're a good part of a retirement portfolio, but they're dependent on profits. And the board, if profitability is getting bad, the board can cut the dividend. And usually when they cut the dividend, the price of the stock falls too. So these are just different investments you can look at there. Annuities, are an insurance-based contract. You get a guaranteed rate of return, and there is tax deferral in that, and there's no limits to contributions. And you can get market participation, and you can even get lifetime income. There's fixed annuities, there's indexed annuities, there's variable annuities. Again, depending on your situation, you try to look for the one that fits the best to meet your needs. Let's just talk about how a annuity works. But let's just take a look at just look at a simple example to see the benefit of using these. So a situation, we have the Thompsons. They're 65 years old and they have $700,000 saved. They're concerned about outliving their money, and they need to figure out how to generate retirement income from their portfolio. If we take a look there at their portfolio, and one way of doing that is we could invest $400,000 of the original $700,000 portfolio, and if you remember that it's all in one stock and in CDs. Instead of having just those two investments, we could keep some of those company stocks Look at corporate bonds, treasury bills, and real estate. But also, let's take 300,000 of the 700,000 and buy an immediate fixed annuity that generates 1,740 per month of income, stability, and one of the keys is they can never outlive this income stream. It's permanent for both of their lives. And we're assuming a 3.5% annual rate of return. So if you take a look at the original portfolio where they had 450,000 in company stock and 250,000 in CDs yielding 3 and 2%, they were making a total of $18,500 a year of income off of this portfolio. But by diversifying into different asset classes, as you can see, they've raised their income from $18,500 to almost $33,000 on the same amount of money. And that fixed annuity payment of $20,000 is guaranteed for both of their lives no matter what. And it's actually higher income than they were getting out of the whole portfolio, taking on full market risk. See, this is what you call true diversification. So the results were they have a more diversified portfolio, much higher income. The guaranteed income is even higher than their previous income, and it's a much more stable portfolio. So the fourth action item we're talking about is prepare for the unexpected. Remember we talked about how life insurance can cover long-term care, and I will tell you, in my experience in this industry, the two most devastating retirement destroying events are, one, not having the correct wills and trusts and powers of attorneys, but the second one is not having long-term care. Now remember, is long-term care covered by Medicare or is it not? Yeah, that's right, we said earlier it is not. And this is kind of an example of what can happen if you don't have long-term care. So you're at age 65, we have the Wilsons here, and they have $750,000 in initial portfolio, and they wanted $45,000 for annual withdrawals from income. Inflation of income, and they got a 5% portfolio growth. But one went into long-term care for 3 years, and that cost them the portfolio over almost $300,000 in unexpected expenses. And if you can take a look, whereas before that crisis, their portfolio was projected to live out to age 86. After that crisis, a portfolio barely makes it to 76. So you lost 10 years of income because of an unexpected event. I actually had a real world example where I had two clients where I was putting them through my wealth process and they were older. We were getting everything done and we were looking into long-term care. Unfortunately, the husband was starting to come into my office and ask for investments that were actually erratic, which was very out of character for him. And I actually, after a few of these, I called his wife. And said, something's wrong with Bob. You know, he's coming in here and he's asking me to do things that just aren't reasonable but are totally out of character. Well, the family took my comments very seriously, and they went and had him checked, and it turned out he was diagnosed with dementia. So any options of getting long-term care basically went out the window at that point. And they had $1 million portfolio, and he was in the memory unit for about 6 years. And at the end of all that, his wife, their $1 million portfolio was a $100,000 portfolio when he died. And she ended up having to move in with some of her kids because of the devastation that the long-term care caused. So this is really a serious concern, and even this example, because it was only 3 years, can even underreport really what can happen in reality. So what you need to do is you need to protect what you have. Long-term care needs, health care coverage. Even if you happen to have a company that's giving you health care coverage now, like the GE example, it may not exist in the future, and estate conservation. And these are just some of the costs of long-term care. And the 91,000 in Ohio really is the Cleveland area. That's what the annual expense on average is. So your options are self-insure, Medicaid, or long-term care insurance. So this is a little talk about healthcare costs, that they are escalating. In fact, the inflation is faster than the general inflation. And some are fortunate enough to have care, but maybe you will have it, maybe you won't. You just need to account for it. You can assume you probably have it unless the company gets in trouble, but you need to consider that. State conservation, if you happen to be worth over $11 million, there are a lot of things we can do to help you with the estate tax. That's a discussion really just for, for a one-on-one meeting. And this is the vehicle. So reef cap. So what you need to do is you need to size up your current situation and your sources of income. Understand your distribution rules. Develop a retirement strategy. Think about the difference between accumulation and distribution. Prepare for the unexpected. Long-term care, other events that would come out of nowhere. So where do you go from here? Now we've given you some important strategies that will help you to make some educated decisions on how to develop an income stream and how to protect your lifestyle and your assets in retirement. So where do you go from here? Well, you get some help. There is no need to take this journey alone. Some of the greatest people in history have been teams. Lewis and Clark, when they explored the Northwest Territories trying to find the route to the Pacific Ocean by water. Shackleton expedition. Even the Fellowship of the Ring. Frodo, Bilbo, Gandalf, or what I am, Kirk and Spock. I can be your Spock. I've been in this industry for years, but I've also was a scientist for many decades before I was this. So I tend to look at things in a very objective manner. So your Kirk is to provide the leadership and the direction you want to go, and my job is to give you the information so you can make it successfully. So let's talk a little bit about our first meeting. Well, what's going to happen? I'm going to ask you 3 or 4 questions. What will I learn that's new? A lot that we cannot discuss here. How long will it take? Less than an hour. What should I bring? Well, you don't need to bring anything. If you want to bring stuff, that's fine. Will you try to sell me anything? No. So how do you think I'll feel when it's over? Well, happy and smart. Where will we do it? Wherever is convenient. And what will be the next 3 steps be? Well, there's 3 possibilities. 1, we could get together, find that we really enjoy each other and click really well, start working together right away. A second thing that could happen is what I tell you sounds good, but you're not ready for a change, and you can we can set a date for a later time to talk again. Third one is we decide we hate each other, call each other's names, and we can just leave on as good terms as possible. Any of those 3 is perfectly fine. So, but if you come, it will be great. You'll have a chance to talk. You will learn some new ideas. You get to see where I work. You'll meet my team. You will get something valuable, and you will have a positive experience. Now, don't miss this chance. You may say you don't have a calendar. Well, you can always make a date. You'll have our contact information. If it doesn't work, we can arrange another time. You want to think about everything you heard today? Well, that's good. I am so glad that you want to think about what you're hearing. But we are all human beings, and there's a retention rate where you're not going to remember everything that you heard here. And we'll need to review things specifically for your situation. I already have an advisor. Well, that's good. I'm glad you do have an advisor. But if you've come here, there's obviously something that's missing and you're looking for something else. Perhaps we can provide that help you need, answer those additional questions, or even confirm that what your advisor is doing is in your best interests. Now, I said I wasn't coming here to sell you something, but that's not totally true. I do want to sell you something. I want to sell you on you. I want to sell you on that belief and that reality that yes, you can achieve your goals, that you can take control of your future. Listen, this is very confusing and it's potentially a dangerous time. I said for 80 million Americans, retirement is that uncharted water. There are totally new risks and many critical decisions that will be made that will have a huge impact on your life and on you and your family's future. But none of it's beyond you. You do have the power to succeed. With knowledge, a solid plan, and some discipline, you can navigate the retirement water successfully. These ideas that you've been given today can help you tremendously. You've worked hard all your life, and you enjoy and deserve to enjoy your retirement. So, this can make that fear and stress go away. Why? Well, the knowledge will give you what you are doing, why you are doing it, and where it will lead you. Best part is you're not alone. You do not have to be on this journey alone. As Spock's intelligence fixed many problems and got the crew of the Enterprise through many situations, having this plan can also get you through this adventure of retirement, and hopefully it'll be longer than a 5-year mission. And we would love to hear you. Please fill out the appointment card and let's figure out a time when we can meet. And thank you for your time. Okay. Better.
50 minutes.
What?
50 minutes.
Yes, it's better. Here's the one problem that I haven't made a decision on and I left it out because I want your input on it. We need to put a small controlled question and answer session, and that will probably